Hey, this is Mike McAdam from Gen X Guitar. Today I'm going to share with you my favorite underused Van Halen trick. Hang around and find out what it is. Okay, so if you followed Eddie Van Halen, you know he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, a lot of cool stuff he does and is playing. This is one of my favorite things that he does, and I feel like it's underutilized because it kind of falls into the realm of tapping. And I think a lot of people think with Eddie Van Halen, it's just the kind of triplet, Spanish fly or eruption, that type of stuff. But this is a little different. So the thing I like about this is it's a blues lick, but it's the kind of tapped bending that he does. So typically when he does this, I'm going to show you a couple of ways he'll do it. He'll bend up this note, for example, I'm in the key of A. I'm going to bend up the 7th fret 3rd string. Or he'll bend it up and just kind of go up the scale like this. And he'll purposely be a little flat sometimes to give it that kind of blues effect. But if you listen to how he does this in the beginning of the song Fools, there's that little intro he does with David Lee Roth where he's kind of doing this. Now, the thing that's neat about that is if you look at this classic blues lick here, where I just bend and go, it's the same note that you're hitting, but part of the upside of this, and I'll move it up to the key of A. If I do this, I still get that same idea where I bend it a little out of tune going down and I keep this note consistent. But if I tap it, I'm able to get a lot more control over the way the note is shaped. And let me show you that. It's like this. And I can get a different type of vibrato when I hit that note. I have a lot more control. Here, I'll do it a little faster. So it's a very expressive technique, but you can play stuff that sounds nothing like Eddie Van Halen. Here, I'll play some classic rock type stuff, right? Now, that's stuff that doesn't necessarily sound like a bunch of Van Halen type licks, but I'm able to get that expressiveness out of that bend. So mess around with this idea. Like I said, you really hear it in the beginning of Fools, that little intro. And there's a lot of other places in his playing. But if you take it out of the kind of, tapping, triplet, eruption type thing, and just use it as another tool in your playing, it's a really effective thing. Like Larry Carlton does this in Kid Charlemagne, where he has the tap bend at the end that's kind of similar to this. But there's a lot of places you can put it in your playing and take it kind of past where Eddie has it. So that's all I have for today. If you enjoy this content, like, subscribe, comment, and check out some more of our videos on Gen X Guitar.
That intro at Fools, it feels like, they were just fooling around. It wasn't supposed to be part of the recording.
Yeah, I think from what I read, Templeman wanted them to do that just to bring out something different in Dave's voice. That's what Ed said. But the thing that's neat about it is it's really a more subtle version of how Eddie takes a lot of what he learned from Clapton and kind of Eddifies it, right? Where he takes that kind of classic blues lick and blues bend and just, it becomes something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he definitely put his stamp on it. And, when you've broken it down like you have, it makes more sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's more of an idea rather, even if you have people that are like, look, I don't want to sound like Eddie and do the kind of triplet tapping thing. That's a super cool idea that you can apply in a lot of different spots and not necessarily just sound like him. I was watching a video by a guy named Andy Edwards who has this kind of like prog fusion channel that's really cool. And he was talking about Eric Clapton and said, look, to me, Eric Clapton doesn't really do anything different than the guys he learned from, but someone like Van Halen takes all these things and just turns it into something else. And, but yeah, you can take Eddie's ideas and try to turn them into something else. Like he basically referred to Ed as like, you know, the godfather of like current rock and like metal guitar guys, because he had all those things he did.
Yeah, Eddie, his picking is not delicate at all. It's very aggressive.
It's extremely aggressive, and you were talking about this. If you listen to that video of him with Steven Rosen, and he's playing Rosen's guitar, and you just hear, I mean, he's just laying into that thing. You know, it's not, I mean, there's finesse, but there's just a lot of, like, power. And I think that's one of the things that people screw up with Eddie's tone. They're like, well, just get a Marshall and gain it up. It's like, no, a lot of that is in his hands. Like, he is wailing on that thing.